All right, we are now joined by perhaps the greatest special teams coach the NFL has ever seen, Mike Westhoff. He has a new book, Figure It Out, My 32-Year Journey While Revolutionizing Pro Football Special Teams. Mike, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. No, I'm happy to, glad to do it for you anytime.
Absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit about the book. How'd you come up with the title, about writing the book? Well, and let people know what to expect when they read it.
The title was easy for me because that's what you have to do. You just got to figure it out. And so it's something that I thought it would be fun to do. I came along with that part of the game in a very unique time and set of circumstances. Hell, I didn't know anything about it. All of a sudden, I'm coaching at the Colts in Baltimore in 1982, and Frank Cush was going to fire the guy that was doing it. And I said, "Oh, yeah, I'll do it. I'll help him. Let me do it. I'll take it over." Well, yeah, good luck, Mike. And and so I did. And the way it evolved was a lot of fun. And I thought it was a really worthwhile story to tell because it came along at a unique time. It rose to a point of prominence where it had never been before, and it'll never go again. And that's just the reality. And so for me to talk about it and to tell the story, it was very much something that I thought about doing. And then it was a perfect job to have during the pandemic. So I sat down and I wrote every single day.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic book, and he doesn't pull any punches. He goes right after a lot of people. It's great. It's a great read. Now, the current Jets, because we're in New York show. The current Jets,
right.
6-3. They're playing well. They're playing probably above their head a little bit. What do you think of this team and the coach?
Well, I don't know them all that well. I liked the coach when I met him, and I was impressed. I think I like what they've done. If you look at the off-season moves, the draft, what they've done, it's pretty impressive. They've done a nice job. Much better than, the previous, 10 years maybe. They did a nice job there. So I thought they had a chance to be pretty good. They got better and better. I went to a training camp practice this year, and I was impressed. I was impressed with the way they ran it, how the execution of the practice, the way the coaches handled things. It just looked like a team that was headed in the right direction. I had no illusions of grandeur because, to tell you the truth, I still have. I just don't know how far this quarterback can take them.
That's the big question. That's the big question. I think everybody wants to know is this our guy, and how long do you stick around with the guy trying to find out?
I think last week was maybe a pretty good example of what they tried to do or what they need to do. Excuse me. This was. Going Buffalo's good. I mean, I would have, if I had to bet, I don't think I could have taken them against Buffalo.
No. If you took them against Buffalo, you didn't know what you were talking about. No.
It's not going to happen. But the fact that they got him out of the pocket a little bit, they continued to run the ball. They gave him some good play action and screens and some things that I think he can do. And it's a little bit, and I'm not trying to be negative to anyone in this regard, but it's a little bit like what we had to do with Mark Sanchez.
Yep.
You kind of, and I'm not comparing him to Mark. I don't mean to do that at all. But there were things that Mark did not do well. But yet he managed the game. We led the league in rushing. We had a good defense, and I had an all-star team. So he was able to take us pretty far. The question is, how far can this guy go? I don't know. But I saw some things last week that I was pretty impressed with. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't too excited.
Yeah, which team are they? Which is the real Jets? Which team are we really looking at when I see him? Are the Jets playing New England, or do I have the Jets from last week?
Exactly. I still think it's going to come down to the play of the quarterback and how he develops, how he matures, how the offensive coordinator develops and matures with him. I think so much of it's going to come down to that because this Jet defense, in my opinion, is a playoff caliber defense. They're pretty good.
Yeah,
they're pretty good. They can run the ball. When they lost the good guy, but then they picked up the kid down from Jacksonville. That's a good move. That looked good. I like that. So, they've done some things that are, and they got a couple of young guys that are really playmakers. They're good football players. So it's the best talent that I've seen on their team for at least 10 years, at least 10.
Now, do you?
And so,
sorry. Go ahead, Coach.
No, I said with that in mind, I think it's enough to get excited about.
I agree. Now, speaking of Mark Sanchez and those teams, do you think with another quarterback, you possibly could have won one of those AFC championship games?
If we had Brett Favre, if we had kept Brett, we'd have won them both.
Yeah.
He got hurt that one year. You were the coach that year as well, right, with Brett Favre?
Sure. Don't forget, we were 8-3 when he got hurt.
Yeah, I know. Now you said you had gone to a practice. Are you for or against? Because now you were in training camp, I'm guessing it was, right? And
yes.
Is it? Do you like the new rules where they really can't hit? There's no two-a-days, stuff like that.
I think, like anything else, there's highs and lows to it. I see. Sometimes it had evolved to a point where it was sometimes out of control with certain coaches. It had to be a smart. I think Eric Mangini probably took it to a depth that had never been before. He just didn't quite. A lot of things he did well. That wasn't one of them. So I think they needed some help there. But yet, sometimes, like anything else, they take it a little far. You can tell early in the year how poor the play is. Missed tackles everywhere, penalties all over the place because those guys aren't playing during the preseason. They're not practicing at a high level. And so I see both sides of it. I think it needed some tinkering. I think they tinkered a little too much, and maybe, but it is so much of it is evolved around concern for safety. And that will not change. The league is taking a stand there, and they're going to keep it going that direction.
Well, I mean, they kind of have to because a lot of these football guys, you see them in their 50s, and they almost look like they're in their 70s. You know, they're in bad shape, so it's a rough game. Now, on the same type of level question, what about the new rules in the last couple of years with like the onside kick? The onside kick is almost, it's almost irrelevant. You need the other team to make a big mistake now to recover an onside kick. You can't have the guys on one side. And with the kickoffs moved up, what do you think about those?
All right, well, you look two different subjects. Let's start with onside kick. There's a guy in the league office. I won't tell you who he is, but he's the man behind the curtain. He's the brains of the whole NFL. He called me a couple weeks ago and asked me what we can do to make this onside kick back to a reasonable play, because it's become a non-entity. And they talked about a movement to have a choice of just taking the ball. That type of thing. There's a discussion. I gave them two thoughts. One, I mean, if you're going to keep it balanced the way it is, and if you're not going to let people go back to overloads and all those things, and they do a lot of that because of safety reasons. So, okay, if you're going to keep that, I gave them two things that you could do. One, the kicking team, after the ball had traveled 5 yards, the kicking team would be able to touch the ball and to bat the ball. The guy could not recover it, but he could bat it. That keeps it alive a little bit and extends the play some. So that's one thing I think you could do. The other thing, if you give some spot, and I'd like to see this practiced a little bit, I don't know, but to move the onside kick to where you only have 5 yards. Make it happen now. The idea is to create a situation where the receiving team has a chance. That's what I think they've taken away. And the receiving team has almost no chance now. So what I want to try to do is come up with a couple things to make it a little bit more exciting. The one batting the ball I know would work, and also moving it up I think is an interesting thing. I don't know. I haven't really seen it. So I'd like to take a look at it to study it. And those are some suggestions that I would have.
If they're worried about safety, moving it up to 5 yards also would, make it where less impact, and they're less impact, and they'll be, they won't be, ramming each other from so far.
Yeah, that's not going to be an issue. That won't be an issue. The other one with the kickoffs, there's just no sense. There's just no sense arguing about it. It's just not going to happen. Basically, what it did for me, that play kickoff return, gave me a career. Because I think I did it better than anybody ever did it. I know I did it better than anybody ever did it. I was with the Jets. We had 9 different guys that led the National Football League in returns. I didn't have Devin Hester or Deion Sanders, and we led the league. What we did was really good and was fun. But that's not going to happen. No matter what I suggest, I give them different things that they could try. They look at me like I'm speaking in Greek or something. They just don't want to hear it. So I think that's a non-entity. I tried to get it to use the third ball. A ball that would be taken right out of the box. It's not a friendly ball. It would not constrict as well. And rather than land 6 or 7 deep in the end zone, it'll come down on the 3-yard line and you'll have a play. You can take away a lot of the other stuff, leave the rules the way they are, but you make it a play. what I argued with the guys in the league when I just talked to them about it is that because of what they've done, they've taken away several ways that you can win the game. They've limited ways you can win the game. Because now it's so much as emphasis on the quarterback. And I gave him a good example. Back in 2000, I guess it was 2010 maybe. We were playing the Colts in Indianapolis with Peyton Manning's last game, actually. They went ahead of us with less than a minute to go. They had to kick off. I knew McAfee would try to hook the ball and kick it out of the end zone. I knew he couldn't do it. Brad Smith had gotten hurt. I put Antonio Cromartie in. I called a Miami right, which meant we doubled to 5 and run a double at 1, 2, 3, and 4. And we ran the ball up to nearly the 50-yard line. We completed one pass. We kicked the field goal, and we went up to New England and ended up in the AFC Championship game. If that game were being played under today's rules, the New York Jets would have not won the game.
Yeah. No,
wouldn't have had a chance.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have had a chance.
No,
so
I remember.
I like the fact that I had a chance. Give me a chance, and so let me see what I can do. That's all I want. You don't have that today.
Do you think they're just trying to work it where it becomes that way, and then nobody cares about it, and then they're trying to revert to where they aren't even doing the kickoff anymore?
Yeah, but then you don't keep guys in the game.
It could very well happen that way. Yes, they're scared to death that somebody's going to run in there with $1 billion. It'll be $1 billion lawsuit. I'm scared to death, and I understand. Yeah. I understand. I just think the way that the equipment, the way the new equipment is, and the way the rules are being. The way the game's being officiated, I think there's a lot of safety involved. There is an element of, it is a tough game. And nobody's kidding around about that. Come on, this is
right.
It's football. It's not soccer. In soccer, you get a bump and they take you out in the litter. Give me a break.
Did your place kickers ever give you a hard time when you made a soccer comment like that?
No, nobody gave me a hard time.
Now you coached with some,
but they knew how much I respected and cared about what they did.
Of course,
I cared about it. I treated them very, very fairly. But it's just a different game. I respect the athleticism, absolutely, but it's a different game. It's not, football's a tough sport. The grown men play on Sunday now, and it's a tough sport. I know this in my 32 years. And I coached 657 games. In every single meeting, the most applauded play that I could show on film was the good, hard, clean hit. Everybody would come out of their seats.
Yep.
That's what everybody. That's the game. That's what they love. That's what you grow up playing.
Now,
go ahead. I don't want to make it safe. I want to make it safe, but I don't want to take it away.
Yeah, now you coached with some legendary coaches who, now, like you said, Bill Parcells' protege, like his coaching tree is very good. You got Sean Payton, who you coached with, but Belichick's is not as good. You got Eric Mangini, who was unsuccessful. Why do you think one coach has good, some coaches have good coaching trees, some don't have good coaching trees?
That's a tough question. I'd only say sometimes with Belichick's tree is that some of the guys, I think there's a real misnomer with Belichick's tree because I'm if you wanted me to tell you what I believe it is, I believe it's a Tom Brady tree.
Okay.
But I don't think any of them are as successful as they think they are without Tom Brady. And in my opinion, that includes Bill. And I think he's a hell of a coach, don't get me wrong. But Tom Brady is the guy that really pushed the button and that ran that show. And once he got it going, at first they were able to ease into him because they had such a great defense. And Bill's a really good coach, don't get me wrong. But, all the things that he got accused of, he did them all. I know. Trust me, I know. He did them all. So it's ridiculous. I'm a Tom Brady guy over Bill. But I think he's a hell of a coach, don't get me wrong. But, I looked at some of those guys on it. Like, I'm still not a big Josh McDaniels fan. I'm just not. I'm just not. There's things about him I don't care for. There was an incident when he was the head coach at Denver. A friend of mine, a guy that I know, matter of fact, I got him the job as a special teams coach. And there was an incident during the game, and McDaniels ran up to him and grabbed him and was yelling and screaming at him. And I called the guy. I said, "Look, you're a Naval Academy graduate. Next time he grabs you, beat the shit out of him on national TV."
Now,
I said, "I'll get you a job." I said, "I'll get you a job the next day, I promise." So that's how I feel about some of those guys. That'll don't let that out. That'll be in the headline.
Now give us.
I just don't. There's some of the guys I just don't. I don't like or respect a lot of them. I don't. So yeah, and a lot of Bill's guys, did well. Sean, of course, did well. But and then Bill could be a pain in the neck too. You read my book.
Yeah. I know you and Parcells. That
he did it.
That's not going well.
He did it. What he did, he shouldn't have done. He did it. It was a crummy thing to do. I had the letter. I could have posted the letter, but then I'd be a stupid. I wouldn't do that. That's not my style. But he did it, and he deserves for me to be angry at him. So it's a shame because I treated him with such respect because he was good to me. And then all of a sudden he did what he did. He can't help himself sometimes. He's just miserable. He's happy when he's miserable.
Yeah.
Take a look. Just look around. I didn't invent it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Now give us a good Rex Ryan story.
Rex is. I really like working with Rex. I still talk to him a lot. I think he's a good man, and some of the crazy stuff that he did. Rex is a big kid. He loves still being a kid. He loves getting dressed up in a hockey jersey or something. That's just who he is. And for all his craziness, sometimes it came out in the media. None of that, believe me when I'm telling you this, none of it was reflected in our football team, in our locker room. None of it. Rex was great with the guys. He was great. We had a disciplined team. Everybody did the right thing. Everybody was on time. Everybody worked hard. And we had a good football team. The lockout and things destroyed our salary cap, and we lost 14 players or something. We went from being a championship team to like Cannonball on one of these teams. And I like Rex. I mean, I just enjoyed it. The one story I told, I think, just kind of epitomizes with Justin Miller getting in the fight with. He told him to get in his uniform and go home. It was the greatest. But I had a lot of fun with Rex. I enjoyed being around him. Rex had a very specific belief in a football team, what he wanted it to be. And it's a lot like what I believe. He wanted to control your offense, to run the ball and control the clock, be very good on defense, and be very reckless on special teams. And that's kind of who we were. Yeah. We led the league in rushing. Of course, we had LaDainian Tomlinson and Alan Faneca. Those are pretty good players. And so it was a lot of fun. And it was a fun time for me. And it's a shame that it kind of got destroyed. And I think Rex has to take some of that blame. I don't think he fought quite as hard as I wish he would have to have not let some of those things happen. Because we were the team that nobody wanted to play. That's who we were.
Yeah, you were. And do you think Rex focused too much on because I know a criticism about him was he focused too much on the defense. He's a coordinator, not a head coach.
No, I don't believe that at all. I don't believe. No, he was good with everything. He saw everything. Yeah. I think he did. It just got out of control. Sometimes we all do it. You think maybe you're a little bit better than you are. You think you can win. I used to make that mistake. I used to think I'll take my guys and beat yours. And I'll go take your guys and beat mine. And I used to believe that.
Yeah,
but that's my own arrogance. But sometimes, it just hurt us. We lost too many good players, and we're losing Alan Faneca, and we're bringing in Plexico Burris. Now you tell me.
All right.
Tell me.
Yeah.
If you let me know how you think that is. So, give me a break. I mean, that's just what happened to us as a football team, because we were really knocking on the door. We were not an all-star team because we had Mark as our quarterback. But Mark was serviceable and did a lot of good things. He did a lot of good things.
Was the curse of death once they gave Sanchez that contract a year before? They could have had another year of Sanchez, and they hitched their wagon to him.
I think that got it started. I believe that, because I actually said that to Mike one time in my office. I said, Mike, why would we give Mark this big contract raise right now? And he had the correct answer, which is what he does on the media right now, because I think he's good at it. Because it's a matter of knowing how to do the job and then knowing what to do in the job. Mike knows how. What? We're going to question that one. And he said to me, well, that's what you have to pay a championship game quarterback. I said, well, if he had anything to do with us getting there, I'd agree with you.
No,
but he didn't.
Yeah,
he was on the bus.
Yeah, you give that to the defense. You give that to the defense, then.
He was on the bus, but he sure so wasn't driving.
Yeah, he's not. Now, tell us a little bit about what it was like to coach with Don Shula.
It's the greatest. I mean, to me, To me, he was first and nobody second. I made it very clear in the book. I thought he was the head coach, not the Miami Dolphins. He's the head coach of the National Football League. Everything went through him. Everything. He was brilliant. And he had a dignity. And he was tough as nails. But he had a dignity. There was no cheating with Don Shula. No, there was none of that. I mean, it was going to be done the right way. And he lived that way. And so I have tremendous. It wasn't easy to work for him. I mean, if he'd come down the hall and he used to pray, "Oh, please don't be coming and looking for me." You want to get under your desk like George Costanza did in that time when he lived under the desk.
Yeah, but George had a whole bed under there. George had a bed and an alarm clock under there.
When Coach Shula came, that's where your mind went. But it was just tremendous working for him because it was not easy, but because he was so tough. But yet he could talk any subject. He could walk into any room and conduct it. He understood all parts of it. What he didn't know, he made sure he found out. He studied. He worked hard. He wanted to know. The worst thing you could ever have him to say would be to look at someone else's film and say to you, how come we're not doing it like that? Oh, I'm not going to jump out the window.
Now,
I never had that. But I loved them and loved working for him. And that's why I know the one time after Jimmy left, I was the perfect candidate for the Miami Dolphin job for all those years I spent with him. I was prepared for the job, and it went another direction.
How did you not end up becoming a head coach in the NFL? I know you had an opportunity there, and I believe another opportunity with the Jets after Herm Edwards left, right?
Yeah, the one with the Jets, that was, Mike pulled the Harry Houdini, when he went from personnel to the general manager and swapped places with Terry Bradwick. That act should go in Las Vegas. How they did that one. But, and Eric was part of that deal. So I interviewed, but I had no chance. They weren't in this. They were going the way they were going. The one before, I really believe I should have gotten. There were some times, when some of my health issues got in my road. A lot of times I was trying to get out of the hospital and I had some pretty tough times. But, that one time I think would have been a great opportunity for me. And I was very prepared. In fact, Dan came to me. They wanted Dan to retire and quit. He didn't want to go. And he came to me and he said, I'm going to get Huizenga to interview you. He said, I want to play. He said, what can we do? I said, okay, I got it. So I talked to Wayne and I told him, we'll keep our defensive coordinator, George Hill. We have the number one defense in the NFL. I said, I'm going to bring in my friend, Joe DeCamillis, to take over special teams. And I've got the number one unit in the NFL. I'm going to bring a guy that I know, the friend of mine I went to school with. He coaches running backs at the Indianapolis Colts, and I'm going to put in the Peyton Manning offense for Dan Marino at the end of his career. I said, Marino will throw for 5,000 yards because he'll be in the shotgun. Jimmy had him under center. This is not, we're just talking totally different.
Yeah, he wasn't moving too good at that point.
No, he wasn't. Remember, he had all those issues with his Achilles, and you put him in a shotgun and get him to throw.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you what.
Yeah.
There's nobody better. Dan's the best. But is he Troy Aikman? No, he's not. It's a different guy. But so what? We had good receivers. We had good receivers. We were good. So it was a great plan. I had a great plan. I believe that he wanted me to do it, but yet went against me and I didn't get it.
Now, do you have one? My answer to this question is Peyton Manning. You got one game, one quarterback. Who you got?
No, it's not even close. I'm taking Dan Marino.
Okay.
Dan Marino.
Okay. Well,
I'll tell you one thing. There's a great show that NFL Films presents, Life of Football Life of Dan Marino.
Yes.
And you listen to all the great quarterbacks: Manning, Brett Favre, John Elway, Jim Kelly, all of them. They say that one guy they all watched was Dan Marino.
Now, what do you think?
It's a shame. It's a shame we didn't win the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
but trust me, he was the last one responsible for those inconsistencies. He's the last guy.
Yeah, and they were there every year. And listen, Peyton Manning was the best every year he played. Basically, he was taking the last couple of weeks off. It took him a while to get to the Super Bowl. Now, what do you think about the Brett Favre thing going on right now?
I honestly don't know enough about it to really comment intelligently. I'm disappointed if he's involved in something that he shouldn't be, because I like him as a person. I enjoyed the time I was with him, and I certainly respected what I know. So I don't know enough of what real. I only know the little bit I see in the media of what really has gone on. I'm hoping that that he stayed the hell away from what he's being accused of. So I'm on his side, and I hope that I'm right.
Okay, that's fair. Zach Thomas, Hall of Famer, or yes or no?
Hall of Famer, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that one.
And now,
look at what he did. Look at all the things he did. Plus, he was the leader on one of the NFL's great defenses. I mean, that defense, we were really good. We were really good. That defense was great. You know, the players should be Jason Taylor and Trace Armstrong at the ends, Daryl Gardner and Tim Bowens, and you had Madison and Surtain. Oh, wait a minute, a good defense. And Zach was the leader. So I'm a big Zach Thomas guy. I think he deserves to go in the Hall of Fame. I look at some of the guys who've gone, no disrespect, Zach Thomas, better football player. I
agree. I think we both agree. And I know my friend Frank, who's a huge Dolphins fan, who asked me to ask that question.
Oh, he's going to like that answer.
Now, where do you see, do you think special teams is a dying art? Where do you see it in the future?
It's been drastically diluted. Drastically. And I'll give you a good number. It's in the book, actually. My first 30 years in National Football League, not counting PATs and field goals, whether you kick them or defend them, not counting those plays, I averaged 22 plays a game. 22. Okay? When I went to New Orleans Saints, 7. Wow. 22 to 7. Wow. See, I'm not counting a kickoff for a touchback. Now, I'm 74. I can run down the damn field on a kickoff right now today. So give me a break.
Right. Well, that's what's happening on a lot of it. I mean, to certain people, depending on the kickers, you watch these guys, they're kicking 70-yard field goals. They're kicking it way out of the end zone. We have backups. The third-string backup who's a quarterback and hasn't kicked in years is kicking it out of the end zone.
That's the way it is.
That's
what it is. So diluted. They just diluted it. I'm in some ways, I'm very disappointed. In other ways, I understand it. I wish it hadn't happened. For me personally, it's kind of good for me in a lot of ways because a lot of stuff that I've done, nobody's going to do it again.
Yeah.
You can't do it because you don't have the plays. And I used to give out an 80-page every week game plan, scouting report, depth chart, 80 pages. Now I can do it on the back of a freaking match cover.
Who's the best pressure kicker? Best pressure kicker that you ever coached?
That I had, I'd take a Lynn Lamar. Because when he was with me, he didn't miss anything. He was great when he was with me.
Yeah, he was a great kicker.
How much easier would special teams be today with these guys kicking it from the other side of the field?
What you have, I just did a conversation about this with actually one of the guys in the NFL. So the guy, trust me, I can't tell you who it is, but he's the man behind the curtain. He's talking about how to change some things. First of all, you've got a real friendly ball. You know, they bring the balls in, the officials check them for pounds per square inch. Then you get a certain, and what the guys do, they take the kicking balls. It's a K ball. The official puts his initials on it. They blow it up. They take a piece of AstroTurf and they buff the ball, just like you'd buff your shoes. Now, it's legal. It's legal, but it's friendly because it'll constrict. It's friendly. Okay, question for you. When's the last time you saw a bad snap?
Right.
Yeah, you do. You know what? You don't.
Tony Romo in the playoffs.
No, that was a good snap. He dropped it.
Oh, okay.
But you see, the point is, long snappers today are specialists. Yeah. They all look like high school. They're all high school phys ed.
They can't get touched, though. They can't get touched.
I know the rule. They can't get touched. So you don't have that. So you've got the perfect snap. Now, everybody knows how to hold. We learned that. I figured that out. You put the back leg up. You catch the ball. You bring your inside elbow into the inside part of your knee. It puts the ball right down the perfect spot. So you've got the perfect snap, the perfect ball, and the perfect hold. That's what you have. So that's taken get-off times and dropped them from a 1.31 snap to kick to about a 1.27 or 8. Well, how the hell are you going to get there? You can't get there. You can't rush inside. You can't line up on the center. You can't push off anybody. You can't push the guy. So you've almost eliminated the rush. A guy called me, wanted to know how they could change that. I gave him an interesting way. We'll see if they do it, but we'll find out.
Now, someone like I was actually watching the other day. Somebody like the Leon Lett play on Thanksgiving that everybody's seen in the snow against the Dolphins.
Right.
How much did bonehead plays like that just drive you crazy?
Well, it was a bonehead play for Dallas, so that was their fault. Yeah. I didn't have any. I didn't have too many of those. Well, you know what we did in that one? See what happened? If you remember back, that old Texas Stadium, the field was uncovered. Everything else was kind of covered, but the field was not. So it snowed like hell. So the field was a mess. they had really no grounds crew to clean the field. They went out and got homeless guys with shovels to get the field cleaned up.
Yeah, he left the hole in the roof so God could watch his Cowboys.
That's exactly right. That's what they used to say. When that play occurred, and then once we found out where the spot was going to be, we actually, I ended up doing it. I could get in trouble for doing that, but we broke off a small piece of the bench and snuck it out there and cleared the spot off where he was going to kick from.
Oh.
That's a good one.
Now, I know you're...
Pete Stoyanovich made the kick, and then we won, but fortunately for Dallas, they never lost another game, and we didn't get in the playoffs, and then we were 9-2 after that win. So we went downhill, and they went uphill.
Wow.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, Leon, that's not the dumbest play he made. He also did the Super Bowl thing with Don Beebe chasing him down.
Correct.
But
he did a lot of good things, so there's a lot of good things on his resume.
Yeah, he was a good player. Now, I know you're a fisherman. I got a fisherman right here. Yeah, my friend Brad, fisherman.
I was out fishing this morning. I heard you down in Florida catching some big sharks, right?
That's what we tried. Yeah, the hurricane has really put everything on hold. You really can't. The Coast Guard doesn't want us to go out right now because they really don't know what's in the waterways.
Oh wow! Yeah,
you could be going along.
Right.
You could be going along. You could be going along and run into a sunken boat. You wouldn't even know it.
Wow,
you don't even know it. There's homes that they don't know where the home went.
Wow.
That's how bad. That's how bad we had.
Well,
so I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until December, and then I'll go out and I do fish for sharks. I don't kill them, but I like catching them. I just like to fight, and I really have fun. You guys ever come this way? You call me. I'll take.
Yeah, I head down there a few times a year, but I've caught some hammerheads down there, right off the beach, some surf casting ones. Really, let me tell you, people be surprised what's sitting right in the edge of those waters right there.
That's where I go. I'm in my boat, but I stay in the passes.
Yeah,
I'm never out. Never am I out more than a half a mile. Never.
No, you go right into the pass, exactly, right on the edge. Let me tell you, it's some good fishing. I'm actually heading down in January. My buddy, I actually got to give him a call now that you said that because he has a charter down in Clearwater, and I'd like to know if they're actually getting out with all the stuff going on right now.
Yeah, they put the hold on us down here. The hold's on. The Coast Guard doesn't want anyone out unless you're a registered boat captain, which I think is a safe thing to do. And I'm not. My boat survived the hurricane, thank goodness. But I'm not the least bit anxious to try to go out right now. No, I'm going to be a little careful.
So your boat survived, but your cars didn't.
Well, my boat was in a marina up in a big barn, and I was on the top floor, the third floor of the barn. The bottom floor was pretty much destroyed with the surge, but where I didn't get anything up there. My boat's fine.
Well, at least everything you lost was replaceable, right?
Yeah, everything. I got the cars I got taken care of. And my house was being put back together. I wrote it out. I did some things that saved a lot of my furniture and that kind of stuff. I got water in, and I had to get some out, but I did a pretty good job of salvaging.
Well, his name is Mike Westhoff. The book is Figure It Out, My 32-Year Journey While Revolutionizing Pro Football Special Teams. He's quite simply the best special teams coach of all time. Mike, thanks for joining the show for a couple minutes today.
We really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, guy. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you. Your show's great. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I was gonna say he's in our Facebook group, Brett. So
that's right. We love it.
I've heard it before. Yeah, I certainly. It's always fun. So you got great questions. It's always fun for me. So anytime.